Good afternoon, everyone. I am Bella Din-Zar, and I am Vice Chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board. Our on-scene investigation of the Hawker 125-700A aircraft, which crashed into a 4-unit apartment building on November 10th, continues. Once again, I first wanted to extend our condolences on behalf of the entire NTSB to the families and loved ones of the victims of this tragic accident. Our thoughts are with you. Today is our first full day on scene, and I wanted to brief you on the activities of our investigative groups. Our investigators began work this morning at 7 a.m. First, I'd like to explain a little bit in detail about the NTSB's party process, which has been in place for more than 30 years. The NTSB offers party status to those organizations, agencies, and companies that can provide the technical expertise and information that supports our investigation and the relevant factual record that we are creating. Last night, we held an organizational meeting with the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, with Honeywell, and with Textron, all of whom have been designated as parties to the investigation. The multidisciplinary team, which is led by our investigator in charge, Mr. Jim Silliman, who's here with me today, has made progress in a number of areas. And again, we're still in the fact-gathering phase of our investigation. But here are some of the activities that are ongoing. Our structures group is gathering information about the accident aircraft. As I mentioned, the aircraft was a Hawker 125-700. It was manufactured in 1979. The airplane structure was predominantly consumed by the fire and impact forces. All 4 corners of the airplane, the wings, the tail, and the nose, are present. And the primary flight controls and landing gear were also examined today. We're still inspecting the house and nearby vehicles for airplane parts. We found no evidence to indicate that the airplane was not intact prior to impact. Both engines have been removed for further inspection off-site, and we're still searching for the digital engine computers to retrieve the engine data parameters. Our systems group has inspected and documented the flight deck. The landing gear was found in the down position, and the flaps were extended. Flight control continuity has been established. We're still searching for the ground proximity warning system. Our aircraft performance group is documenting witness marks, power lines that were struck by the aircraft, trees surrounding buildings, and the security camera footage. Yesterday, the cockpit voice recorder, the CVR, was shipped to NTSB headquarters in Washington, D.C., where a group convened last night to do an initial download of the recorder. The CVR was a Fairchild GA100 tape unit. The exterior of the CVR was damaged by fire. The CVR tape itself showed no evidence of damage and contained a 30-minute recording of poor quality. On the recording, the crew discussed the localizer approach procedures to runway 25 at Akron Fulton International. The crew also discussed weather conditions as being wind from 240 degrees at 8 knots, 1.5 miles visibility, and 600 feet overcast. The sounds of impact were recorded on the CVR. Next week, back in Washington, we will be forming a CVR group with all of the parties to the investigation to conduct a more in-depth review of the CVR. We're forming a maintenance group to review all the maintenance records for the aircraft, including whether any modifications were made on the aircraft. Our operations group has been collecting medical and flight records about the 2 members from the FAA and the air carrier. Both the pilot and the co-pilot held Air Transport Pilot, or ATP, certificates with the FAA. This is the highest level certification from the FAA that the FAA can issue. Both pilots also held current first-class medical certificates from the FAA. And both pilots were qualified in this aircraft. As of the time of their last medical certifications, the pilot had over 6,000 hours of flight time, and the co-pilot had 4,500 hours of flight time. Our air traffic control group has been examining air traffic and radar data. We know the accident aircraft was in contact with the Cleveland Air Traffic Control Center. The air traffic controllers gave the pilots a vector to put them on the correct flight path for a localized approach to runway 25. A localized path basically guides the aircraft laterally to the runway. The aircraft followed the vector, adjusted its altitude and airspeed, and intercepted the localized approach. Once the aircraft intercepted the approach, the air traffic controllers advised the aircraft to switch the radio to the frequency of the airport and had no further communication with the aircraft. We have also convened a weather group. We have meteorologists on staff at the NTSB headquarters in Washington, D.C. The reported weather at the time of the accident was winds at 250 degrees at 8 knots, 1.5 miles visibility, mist, overcast cloud ceiling at 500 feet above ground level, temperature 11 degrees Celsius, the dew point was 9 degrees Celsius, and the altimeter was 29.95. All of our teams have been working around the clock to gather information and other facts that will help with this investigation. We want to gather these facts to help us determine what caused this accident and to prevent further such accidents from happening. As to the schedule going forward, our investigation is ongoing. We are working closely with the parties to gather the principal evidence and the key measurements to expedite our on-scene activities. We expect to be on scene for about 2 more days, but we will be here for as long as it takes. Although we've made good progress today, I do want to emphasize that we're still quite early in the investigation phase. Again, our objective is not just to find out what happened, but why it happened, so we can prevent it from happening again. Let me reiterate, too, that we do not determine the probable cause of an accident while we are on scene. We also do not speculate about what may have caused an accident. And as a reminder, if the public has relevant information for this accident, we urge you to contact us by email at eyewitnessreport@ntsb.gov. That's spelled EYE, witness report at ntsb.gov. This will be our final on-scene briefing. However, the on-scene investigation here in Akron will continue here as well as in other locations. And we have a team in Washington, D.C. also providing assistance with this investigation. Additional media updates will be provided via press release from our headquarters in Washington. And you can reach our Office of Public Affairs at 202-314-6100. Or you can reach Terry Williams by email at terry.williams@ntsb.gov. Now, I'd be happy to take some questions. Please raise your hand, and I will call on you so you can identify yourself. Yes?
You mentioned the voice recorder recorded in the impact. Did it record the pilot saying anything?
We have 30 minutes of the question is, was there any other information on the CVR in addition to the impact? Were the pilot saying anything? There's 30 minutes of conversation information on that CVR. That's what we'll be looking at more carefully next week. There was conversation about the weather, about landing.
But right before, did they say anything? Did they seem concerned right before, any seconds before the impact?
So we will be looking at that very carefully. So we have all the parties. When we look at a CVR, we have all the parties in place. And as we said, the quality is quite poor. So we want to look at all the aspects. We have a lot of experience looking at CVRs. We can tell a lot from the sounds in addition to the conversation of the pilot.
There's also a flight recorder?
Sorry.
Plane wreckage. Has anything been taken out yet?
So the question is about the plane wreckage and whether anything has been taken out. Yes, we have removed both of the turbine engines. We have moved that to a location. It will be examined at Honeywell under the guidance of our investigator in charge. We will be removing other parts as we see fit. Part of it is we are in the process of looking at things such as the DEEC, the data engine computer. Yes.
There's also a flight recorder. Has that been taken yet?
The question is the flight recorder. So we have the CVR. We expect that we will be looking for the data engine recorder. Do we also expect for any other types of recorders? I'll let.
Just the ground proximity warning system. There is no flight data recorder on this aircraft.
So we will be looking for the ground proximity warning system as well. But on this aircraft, there was no other recorders.